Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bashim Yahawashi, Bashim Rakakadash. All blessings, honor, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, through his only begotten Son, our Lord and our Savior, whose name is Yahawashi, and double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who told me this truth, and salutations to the elect scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. My name is Amon Gabar, and I'm back with another quick lesson. Lord willing, it's edifying, quick, fast, straight, and to the point. And it's going to be a quick video. I'm going to roll off the essence of today's daily motivational precept that I put up, which is the daily motivation number 118. And the precept that I put up is Ecclesiasticus chapter 51 and verse 12. And it says, "For thou savest me from destruction, and deliverest me from the evil time. Therefore will I give thanks and praise thee, and bless thy name," or thy name, O Lord. So a prayer, blessings, honors, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father, Yahawah, through his only begotten Son, Yahawashi, our Lord and our Savior. We understand here at GMS, the hopefully elect, that an evil time is getting ready to come, and a time that words can't even really utter to paint the picture and portray the evils and the severity of how perilous things are going to get. This, I always like to say, this cool, calm, collective, peace, quiet, the fact that we can, the brothers, we can hit the button at any given time when the spirit hits, whether it's on the streets, in your home, on your couch, in your living room, in your backyard, at the park, on the trails, wherever, however, in transit. These times are going to come to an end. The peace and safety is about to be obsolete, and then sudden destruction is going to come. So us of the hopefully elect, our thing is praying to Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi day in and day out that the Lord deliver us from the evils to come, which the evils, i.e. Jacob's trouble. All right, and within Jacob's trouble popping off, which we go into the severity of this all the time, the troublesome times, Egyptian against Egyptian, meaning civil unrest, American people against American people with swords in their hand, the modern day sword is the gun. Great tribulation because of the lack of bread, like it speaks about in the Apocrypha. It's going to come a time when food is going to be scarce. The ability and the accessibility to be able to purchase food at any given time of the day, stocking up, all this shit is about to change, bro. People going to the stores in comfortability, buying food items, rolling around with their shopping carts like everything is all good. Little that they know is that one day that's going to be their last push of that shopping cart or buggy, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. That's going to be their last push and stroll down the aisles where they can leisurely pick things up and put in their carts and check out. It's going to get bloody out here, bro. And you very few insist this is going to get real bloody. And the Lord is with it because he's the one orchestrating this thing. And it's up to you, Israelites, to take heed to the warning of the prophets. The Lord set us up to warn. Ezekiel the 33rd chapter, verse 7. The Lord set us up to warn. So let me read on and get a couple precepts. I really didn't pull anything up, to be honest. Just going with the Spirit. So, "For thou savest me from destruction, and deliverest me from the evil time," because there'll be a time such as never before seen on this planet Earth. "Therefore will I give thanks." So we all, even before this massive, great, perilous times, we've experienced evil times in our own, walk, our own journey, our own essence of living. We've encountered things, and the Lord delivered us.
And like everything else, the current situation that I'm in, Slovakia, I can honestly say that, yes, that's true. I can testify to the most recent situation with my multi-palm and the broken leg that I see the Most High working with me, because I'm still praying to Him. I'm still doing what I need to do by getting this word out, and still doing a video every day and looking at other brothers' videos and sharing, etc. And yet He's showing me, okay, here's another way, here's another way. Okay, you're getting closer on this in case, you're building up the defense, etc. But He's showing that I can still pray to Him, and He can still give me comfort, even though these are evil times, these are hard times, because, again, it ain't about, people ain't about it. It's about the money, it's about ransom, it's about extortion. Esau's an extortionist, and he knows he can get the money out of you because you love your dog, you love your family, and they can hold a ransom over you, and you have to come and pay it. Esau's like that mobster that, well, you want something, well, you're going to have to give us this or that, and they hold it over your head. But you see, all that covering cast is coming off, and so the Most High is going to deliver you in these perilous times as this brother's going into.
And if he delivered us from the small things in life, how much more the greater things in life that's going to be more impactful and dire.
Everything's going to turn
our
up.
everyday, today living situation. I truly trust and believe that Yahawashi is going to deliver me from what's to come. And when I say I believe that with all hope and sincerity. You know, I hope. I'm going to follow that with a big, gigantic dose of hope. You know, when you believe, the scriptures tell you that he had come to serve. The Lord must believe that he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So, you know, we can't, damned if you don't believe. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing this thing without belief, then you damned. We here because we believe. So we got to believe everything, bro. You got to believe that the Lord is going to deliver you from situations. I believe the Lord is going to deliver me from situations as long as I hold up, to my end of the bargain.
Yeah,
which is
and that's
serve
what
the Lord with faith,
we need to
sincerity,
do. Hold our end of the bargain.
Diligence, all the way to the bitter end. So I got my job to do. I got a job to do. Every last one of you that's watching right here, right now, I'm at the 6 minute and 15-second mark. You got a job to do. Every male, female, all right, you got a job to do. So do it. All right, do it. So let's read on some. Therefore will I give thanks and praise thee. All praises, honor, glory, and power be unto Yahawashi, Yahawashi. And bless thy name. Bless thy name, O Lord. So the names, you know what I'm saying? Barakatha Yahawah, Barakatha Yahawashi, Barakatha Yahawah, Barakatha Yahawashi, Barakatha Yahawah, Barakatha Yahawashi. All praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahawashi, Yahawashi. Praises, honor, and glory. That's how you praise the Lord, worship the Lord, glorify his name. Anybody, like I was saying, anybody that tell you otherwise concerning the name, disregard that false prophet. Point blank, period, no comma. If a nigga talking about the name of the Lord don't matter, tell that ninja he don't matter and walk away. All right, walk away. There's a lot of false prophets out here, and they out here for gain, private gain, personal gain. What do I have to gain? I ain't got nothing to gain but my salvation. All right, personal gain ain't nothing personal over here. Strictly business. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so that was that. Let me get Sirach. I'm sorry, that was Sirach 51:12. Just gonna jump around a couple of precepts and now I'm gonna end it. Like I said, just hitting the button on the daily motivation. This is Psalms 34:17. The righteous cry, and the Lord Yahawah heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. So cry unto the Lord. Cry unto the Lord. How do you cry unto the Lord? Scripture say, cry loud, spare not. So for the men, how we cry is by hitting the button, rapping with your leg, however, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And edifying the Lord's lambs, his sheep. That's one way of crying. Crying also is praying, fasting, listening to when the Lord is speaking to you. You know what I'm saying? When the Lord is dealing and chastising and rebuking or correcting or whatever, you cry unto the Lord. This thing is all about correction at the end of the day, and you got to listen to the signs. Like, who was it? My man Tennyson, regular artist from the 80s, probably late 70s, but I just know from the 80s, early 90s. He got a song called Signs. I know my bro 12 Tribes gonna put it up, but you got a song, Life is One Big Road with a lot of signs. All right, a lot of signs. So everywhere, there's signs everywhere, bro. The Lord, if you're spiritual, you're gonna see it. Not that you're looking for it, but the Lord is gonna speak to you. That's how the Spirit works. You know when it's time to check yourself. Before you wreck yourself. I was watching the other bro Yahawah. He did a quick video on that. I forget exactly the title. I ain't even finish it, but I'm gonna finish it up. Knowing when the Lord is speaking and communicating. You know what I'm saying? So the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and deliver them out of all their troubles. So if we get delivered out of financial troubles, health troubles, motor vehicle troubles, whatever troubles you could possibly think of right now, right here, if we get delivered from these little, minute things, how much more Jacob's trouble? Don't you think we're going to get delivered out of Jacob's trouble? I think so. I believe so, and I hope so. You know what I'm saying? Out of all their troubles. This shit about to get rocky out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's peace and safety. Everybody chilling, you know what I'm saying? Business as usual. Shit about to shift. Yo. And I'm all for it. I'm all for this shit, B. Let's go. I'm all for it. Let the Lord bring that smoke. You know what I'm saying? I just hope that you find favor and mercy in myself, as in the daily verse that I put up this morning. Matter of fact, I could read that real quick. Let me see. What was that again? Let me go to the post. So that was Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 35:16. He that serveth the Lord Yahawashi shall be accepted with favor, and his prayers shall reach unto the clouds. So the true servants will be accepted with favor. The Lord is going to look down, right, from the heavens upon his planet Earth, and look down at each and every last one of his elect and say, yeah, that's my favorite right there. The Lord has 144,000 favorites, okay? And then you have a third favorites. And then you have a remnant favorites. He has sections. Everybody has sections. Everybody categorize things. I categorize things. I got categories. Everything I have a category. So do you. I mean, for the most part, that's how the Heavenly Father work as well. Everything is in categories. Everything is in ranks and in sections. You got to organize shit. So the Lord have His favorites organized. You know, I just hope that I'm a favorite. I don't care if I'm the last one on the list, the last one in the organization. You know, so-called, you know, to be organized. All right, last but not least, I'm on the bar. Shit, I take it.
Yeah.
I take it, bro. Word up. You know what I'm saying? I take it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Shit. So, he that served the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. So pray. Pray. If you believe you part of the Lord's elect, man, pray. The Lord hears you. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the answers, because our timeline and the Lord's timeline, the chronological times is different. You know, things are real fast-paced for us, but in the heavens, it ain't nothing but time. So, just because you don't get it right away don't mean your prayers are not being answered. Shit take time. You may pray for something today, and it may come within 7 months, you know, a year, you know, 3 months, 2 weeks. Sometimes the Lord will just bless you to show a massive miracle and give you the shit the next day. You know, so you just gotta be patient, you know what I mean, and be faithful.
And that's just it, you know, knowing the times that are coming up. Not walking around without a compass, I should say. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teachers of truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there on the four quarters of the earth proclaim His truth. Barak the Yahawah, Barak the Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Bakatam. So, got a few news clips to start this thing out, right? You know, because we got a lot of shit going on and taking place. You know, the so-called peace deal, which is going to fall. It's going to fall. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Israeli state, you know, in this charade is not too happy, you know, and they're giving you this idea that Trump and King Bibi ain't too happy. But that's beginning to take shift this week because Trump just posted something very, very interesting here. So, while the news clips may tell you one thing, you know, but on the other hand, this is what he said. Trump says, Iran pact not final warns of renewed strikes. So here he is again, taunting Iran, saying, well, look, we can still strike you. U.S. President Trump said Wednesday that the deal announced with Iran this week as a memorandum of understanding remains subject to change. If I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, Trump told reporters during a meeting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. He warned that if Iran's leaders don't behave, the U.S. will resume dropping bombs on their territory. Straight up. So, he's back to that again. You know? Well, if I didn't say it, I'll say it again. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teachers of truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there on four quarters of the earth proclaim His truth. Barak the Yahawah, Barak the Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Brakatum. So my multi-palm that's in recovery is in the room with me now as I'm doing this lesson. So I had to press pause to take care of her. You know, again, this takes both me and my wife, who's also crushing up recycling, you know, because that's something else we do for extra money. Hey, the Most High has shown that He's providing, you know. He's providing during this time period when money's short and all those other things, but yet at the same time, it's helping me to build up this defense fund, you know, because, again, you know, and there's another lesson to be learned here, but we'll get into that as we go. But nonetheless, though, this peace deal is about to expire as this video goes into. As we all know that brothers have been breaking it down, and we here at Great Millstone, we know that this peace deal, it's a farce. It's a phony. It's a fake, because that's not what the scriptures tell anyways.
Well, we are learning more now about this peace deal between the United States and Iran, but of course there's still a lot we don't know. How much will the United States actually pay in reparations? We think we have a framework. We'll talk about that in a second. What does this mean for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's nuclear program? And we also don't know the full extent of Israel's involvement in this agreed peace. Will they try to be a thorn in the side? We're not sure. Reporting today saying, I can now confirm that Israel formally requested access to the Iran MOU, the peace agreement, and was denied. A remarkable and highly unusual development between close allies on an issue of such critical national security importance. I remember in February, former Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben-Menashe said Benjamin Netanyahu would release the full extent of what Epstein files they have access to in an effort to sabotage the peace deal if the United States and Iran put something together. Listen.
If there's a real deal between the Americans and the Iranians, and it's going towards that. Netanyahu will try to sabotage it. One of the ways he'd sabotage it is by putting out Epstein material against U.S. government officials, including Trump.
Okay.
And he put it there.
So, and other U.S. officials.
So that's the blackmail,
just a few
right?
minutes ago, we got sort of an outline from Saudi Arabia's Al Arabiya claiming they have a few points of the U.S.-Iran memorandum. I'll just mention a few of them here. Immediate permanent end of fighting on all fronts, including in Lebanon. U.S. immediately lifts the naval blockade. No further interference. U.S. withdraws all forces from the region within a month of a final deal. So that would be incredible. U.S. would move all forces out of the region within a month of the final deal. Iran lifts the Hormuz blockade within a month, which is kind of hilarious considering that the United States says we are the ones with the blockade. Anyway, we're going to dive into all of this now with Brandon Weichert. Brandon Weichert, of course, is the author of the Weichert Brief on Substack, and he just published a brand new report on his Substack. And Brandon, great to see you. Welcome back to the show, as always.
Thank you, as always, for having me. It's good to be here.
So maybe you can walk through your initial assessment of what seems to be a peace framework and whether or not Israel will be involved in this. Just kind of going over these details from Al Arabiya. We don't have official confirmation that this is correct yet, but just at a high level, what do you make of this?
Well, I think I'm going to enjoy the next 96 hours before everything falls apart, because I'm very skeptical that any of this is going to happen. There's aspects that have been released. It's supposedly that's in the deal. I was going through what the Iranians are saying about an hour ago, and now you have the Al Arabiya report. There's some mismatching here, which is worrisome because it sounds like there are points in which the Americans and the Iranians are not on the same page, notably over issues related to Israel. I think that this is a framework for a temporary ceasefire for sure, but I'm very dubious. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm very dubious that this is going to lead to some kind of wider peace. I think any way you look at it, the strategic implication is clear. The strategic implication is that the United States, what you're looking at in this document, whether it's the Iranian version or the American version that Al Arabiya supposedly has gotten a hold of, what you're looking at is a conditional surrender document from the United States. And one of the reasons that the Trump administration, I think, has refused to share the text of the agreement or the proposal with their Israeli partners is because they're fully well aware the Israelis will leak it to friendly elements in the American media and to Congress, who will then create a firestorm that will likely prevent the president from finalizing this temporary ceasefire, which benefits only Mr. Netanyahu.
Well, I guess we know that President Trump, if the deal materializes, would try to spin it as a win, pretend that we didn't start something that we then had to surrender to get out of. And so if we take a look at this tweet he put yesterday, Iran has agreed never to have a nuclear weapon, and also the idea that we're paying $300 million is fake, put out by the Democrats. But that does seem to be a part of the condition, is that Iran is saying you must unfreeze our money, and we are looking for some type of reparations.
I want to say something real quick. He's right. It's not $300 million. It's actually $300 billion with a B. Dollars.
Good eye.
Right.
Also, J.D. Vance basically confirmed it yesterday, right?
Yes. And so I guess we're trying to drive around the BS and figure out what would actually be on the table. And also, I want to see it with eyes wide open, the spin.
Right. Well, the spin is very clear. And the ones doing the spinning, unfortunately, it's pretty much the Americans. The Iranians have been very clear about what they expect. They put it in writing. The Americans have pretty much agreed to it. Remember, one of the reasons the last round of bombardment occurred was because Trump was trying to squeeze Iran to accept his conditions for harsher, regulation or access to these purported Iranian nuclear weapons arsenal, or their nuclear dust, as he says. And he was also trying to get them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz faster. They both, even after the bombardment that we just did, the Iranians said pound sand. So Trump quietly removed those conditions from what has now become the final sort of draft of this MOU's memorandum of understanding. The Iranians have they're sitting in the driver's seat. They have all the leverage here, and they are dictating terms. And the Americans, President Trump, is desperate because he's fully well aware we're hitting tank bottom of our strategic petroleum reserves beginning as early as June 22nd. He is fully well aware if he doesn't get energy flowing again immediately through the Strait of Hormuz, there's no amount of BS that he can give the markets to prevent the spikes in prices that will come immediately thereafter. So he's got to get this going again. He needs an MOU at least for the next 60 days. The Israelis don't want to give it to him. But there's a lot of BS because he knows if he gets out what he's given them, or what he will give the Iranians, it's going to be the end of him. It'll be the end of the Republican Party. It is a conditional surrender document that he is signing on to.
Over the past 24 hours, there's all these memes floating around on the internet. MAGA waking up realizing they spent whatever $40 billion, $60 or $80 billion bombing Iran, only then to give them $300 billion to completely rebuild their country. So you have, of course, MAGA's furious about this. You have a lot of neocons neocons, including Lindsey Graham, who's upset about it. President Trump just a few minutes ago responded to that, saying, "Oh, Lindsey's upset about this. He's going to be in big trouble. I got to have a talk with him."
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's really going to have to talk with him. And then also you have people like John Bolton, warmonger, Yosemite Sam John Bolton, who just
bombs away Bolton.
Yeah, he just said this. Listen to Bolton. Listen.
I think it's a very bad deal for the United States. Trump isn't thinking about the geostrategic implications of the deal. He's thinking of one thing. He wants the Strait open. He wants Gulf oil on international markets. He wants the price of gasoline at the pump down. That's all he cares about. I think it's a mistake to give this brutal theocracy any of the assets. I'm happy to give the assets back to Iran when it's under a free government. That's not where we are now. The change of leadership is only because...
Yeah. What do you make of bombs away Bolton? I like that.
Well, bombs away Bolton. The walrus is another one. If I can speak today, he's not right. He's not wrong about the first part, though. I mean, Trump doesn't care about the geopolitics of this. He doesn't really look at this as a conditional surrender document. He looks at this as he's on the short end of a very serious business deal, and he doesn't have a choice. He's got to sign it now because otherwise the really heavy stuff is going to hit like in the next week and a half to 2 weeks, and then he's hosed politically because he knows full well it's going to be an uphill battle to win the midterms at this point. But if he doesn't get that strait reopened immediately, he's effed in the midterms, and then it gets really bad for him and his family because I can tell you right now, Norm Eisen and the Democrats, they've got the subpoenas on standby. As soon as they get majorities, half of those subpoenas are going forward. The Congress under the Democrats are going to gut this administration. The other half are going to go forward if and when they take the White House in 2028, and they're never going to leave Trump alone. So Trump's aware of this, so he's got to delay that as much as possible, and that means not worrying about the geopolitics of this. That means he's got to get this deal done. But here's another quick thing. The Iranians under the deal have up to 30 of those 60 days to fully reopen the strait. I will put money down on the fact that there's nowhere they're going to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz until closer to that 30-day mark. Furthermore, the ships that have moved through the Strait of Hormuz, they're using the TSS, they're using the traffic separation scheme that the Iranian government created. So what this represents, guys, is the movement from de facto Iranian control over the strait to de jure Iranian control over the strait. So 60 days, they're going to let supposedly these ships pass free of charge. These ships are having to use the TSS, though, from Iran, which means day 61 of this agreement being over, day one after the agreement ends, Iran's taking that and they're getting tolls. You mark my words.
Oh, okay. And so, I mean, this is really a position of power for the Iranians more than ever was anticipated. And so, we don't see the social media spin on it as much from the Iranians. They almost don't have to. But can you lay out more of the ways in which this gives them power in the region and sends the United States with its tail between its legs? Yeah,
well, basically, I have heard from people I know, and I know a lot of people in Saudi Arabia, outwardly they're still very friendly to the Americans, but the government there is very angry with the Americans. Not necessarily because the Americans started the war. Remember, the Saudis were kind of on board with it. It's because of the fact that the Saudis realized the Americans had no freaking plan whatsoever. We were just kind of making it up as we went along, and we were letting Netanyahu and the Israelis drag us along and feed us the line. And so now the Saudis are left holding the bag. And the Saudis are going to have to figure out how they're going to survive in this region because it's very obvious that the American staying power is no more. And part of that is because in order for us to hang around and still remain kind of influential, we would need the buy-in of the Gulf Arab states to allow for us to rebuild and rehabilitate all of those military facilities and the capabilities they provided us that the Iranians destroyed and damaged throughout the war. At least half of those Gulf Arab states, and I think the Saudis are one of them, are not going to let us reconstitute because they realize having American military facilities is not a deterrence, it's not a protection against Iran, it's an inducement for Iran to do real damage to these countries. The Gulf Arab states need their economies to do well. They need, therefore, the oil and all the other stuff flowing in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. That was cut off to them. These countries are gravely damaged. Saudi Arabia, not as badly as Bahrain and some of these other ones, but Saudi got hurt too. And so a lot of these other countries that were once aligned with the United States and Israel are looking and saying, we're going to need a new way, one that is less dependent on the Americans, one that gets along with the Iranians without giving them the store, and one that contains Israel, because these Gulf Arab states for the last year have been eyeing Israel far more suspiciously than they previously did in the last decade.
Let's talk about the Israel piece of this. Just a few minutes ago, Al Jazeera reporting that Iran, through Iranian officials, that Iran will hit back against, in a big way, against these Israeli aggressions in Lebanon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge piece of this peace agreement, arguably.
It's the key, and we don't have control over that, which is why I say enjoy the next few days, but I don't think this thing's going to last.
So you heard from former Israeli intelligence officer back in February, Ari Ben-Menashi, saying Benjamin Netanyahu would release the full weight of the Epstein files in order to prevent a U.S.-Iran peace agreement. Now, that could be bluster. How much does he actually know? What leverage does Benjamin Netanyahu actually have over President Trump for any kind of blackmail information? It doesn't seem like the Israelis are going to go quietly on this.
They're not going quietly on this, and then I will just say the ones to ask about the supposed Epstein compromise, and I don't know if there is any Epstein compromise, would be the Emir of Qatar's son, as well as Vladimir Putin, and I'll just leave it at that. But I think that the real issue with the Trump family in general is they're highly exposed to Israeli business interests. So irrespective of whether the Epstein thing, there's anything there, or if it's just bluster, the fact of the matter is the president and his family are making a lot of money off of Israeli business ties. So it's very difficult, I think, for him to fully divorce, because we know that Mr. Trump cares about one thing alone, and that is money over all else.
Yep, and that's why he's raised tariffs, etc., right? You know, but nonetheless, though, this is all, you know, this fiasco between King Bibi and Trump is about to go robust, and then there's more here, right? As this video goes into, right? All right, well, actually, I meant this one.
Also, the architect and the founder of Acapulco, an event that I have been to twice, occupation, and basically conquering of our country, where the streets were exploding. Anyway, Jeff has been, dead on with shot calls all over the place.
So, like everything else, though, there was a false flag this weekend, as you know, with the UFC thing. And, of course, you know, it was a staged event. I knew it was a staged event. Anything at D.C. is a staged event. Like the so-called assassinations against Trump and this UFC riots and all that. Totally controlled, totally staged. Hell, I'll probably even watch it later, you know, the fights, because the fights are always good. And, well, like Nero in the first term, right? He loved going to those arenas, man. He loved going to those stadiums and watching the, at that time, what we know as Crusaders. You know, he loved watching those things. So he's back in the regeneration now. It just so happens to be UFC. But he likes to be at all the sporting events, if you notice that about Nero, Trump, you know, the 47th. So we know he's back in the regeneration. And so here it is, you know, a staged event like WWE. But it's UFC at the White House, totally staged.
It's geopolitically and with the subversion and infiltration, occupation, and basically conquering of our country.
Yeah.
He's in Mexico. That's where he lives now, on a ranch, and he joins us now from Mexico. So the peace deal, the UFC clown show, circus, theatrical presentation at the White House, you've been paying attention to all of this. What's
Dollar Vigilante.
It's more than usual, but I think people really need to wake up and realize what's actually going on here. So over the weekend, of course, Donald Trump, who was supposed to have this UFC fight at the White House, sort of like the Hunger Games, let the slaves fight in front of him, like Gladiator and stuff like that.
Gladiators, yeah, that was the word I was looking for.
We're supposed to have it on July 4th, because that was initially what he said. Let's have it on July 4th. It'll be the big celebration of America's 250th anniversary and all that sort of stuff. But he changed it to his birthday. like a Caesar out of Rome, he just changed it to his birthday.
Because he is.
Flying motorcycles.
He is Nero Caesar, get it?
They were trying to remake Idiocracy. It was incredible to watch. And then
the number of his name is 666.
Social.
Just saying.
I love everything with these people is inverted. And said, oh, we got the peace deal. That was like the 39th time he said that, by the way. So the 167th time, I believe, that they basically said this was happening. We're now in the middle of June. It's 3.5 months in.
June.
And there's nothing changing at all. There's not one ship really moving. There's all kinds of war stuff still going on, even though he said they got this peace deal. So people need to realize that this is actually a massive, massive agenda. This is a massive psychological operation in that they're basically going to be destroying a lot of the world shipping, the oil supply, and also the food supply, and that's even more important with the fertilizer and things like that, to depopulate the earth. So everything else related
500 million. That's what they want to get it down to.
And say, oh, Trump just tweeted, and like, oh, it looks like the war's over. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know how to slap people through your screen. I don't know how to wake people up. I got to tell you, Steve, like, I usually come on and I'm pretty, like, laughing and, calm and stuff like that. And I am, because I meditate a lot. But I'm kind of like, what are we going to do to wake people up? They're so under mind control. And that's the thing, this mind control, I don't know, like, maybe to snap your fingers. Like, basically, they're like, oh, Trump just tweeted. It's like, yeah, he's a pedophile who works with a bunch of satanic pedivores. Why are you, like, listening to his tweets? Why aren't you hanging him? Why are you tracking him down? Why are you tracking them all down? Because everyone's under mind control, unfortunately. I don't know what to do, Steve. Like, we talked about this so many times. People just can't wake up to this because they're under mind control. And this has actually been, that's the thing that's kind of sad, but also hopeful. Is that this has actually been done for generations. People believe in all kinds of things. Like, what's one of the things they say? Oh, we're doing this war because Iran might have nuclear bombs. There's no nuclear bombs. There's no evidence of it. Hiroshima's fine. Nagasaki's fine. It was firebombed. There's no nuclear bomb. They've been using that for 100 years to keep people all scared and listening to the governments and doing all these wars, which are satanic pedivore wars, to steal money from the people. You might notice, for anyone out there who's stupid or cowardly enough to pay taxes at this point, to even this UFC Hunger Games Idiocracy fight this weekend, that was all paid for by you if you pay for that stuff. And people need to to wake up and they're under mind control. It's been generational. It's 12 years of government indoctrination camps for their entire childhood. Do you understand how insane that is to have a kid sit at a desk for their entire childhood and be fed propaganda and actually not be taught anything? It's unbelievable, and they make you pay for that too. And people just need to wake up
pay for CNN and fucking bullshit. PMS,
if it's not that, it's their scrying mirror that they're with their algorithms from Mark Zuckerberg, one of the grandsons of the Rothschilds, who Facebook started the day Facebook started the CIA's basically Facebook program stopped, because that's what that is. People are all excited right now about Elon Musk. He's putting rockets into space. I don't know if you noticed, they never go into space, but he told his Jewish, one of his Jewish girlfriends in pregnant for fertilization. I don't think he can even have sex with that barrel body he's got. I don't even think he's human. Ashley St. Clair said that he told her that he's got thousands of space lasers and he's about to unleash his anomaly. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like, it's almost, everyone's going to be like dead here soon if you don't wake up. But someone's watching this right now. They're like,
it's amazing to me
that was interesting. Maybe I'll watch this World Cup game later on today with all their hand symbols and everything.
Oh yeah, then you got the FIFA World Cup
These people are willing to riot and burn down their own communities and kill people and beat the hell out of people over a Knicks game with the Spurs, but they're unwilling to riot to enforce the will of the American people. They're unwilling to riot to, I don't know, liberate their own country, do right by their countrymen. And on its face, this peace deal, how can it last? We just ask you this. Okay, so Iran
Everybody
says that
knows it's a
peace
joke.
Deal, one of the stipulations here is
Except
that
for the retards.
Israel stop bombing Lebanon. Israel is a part of this. Lebanon is a part of this peace deal. Israel is saying, well, we don't acknowledge that. We're not part of that. And we have a lot of land in Lebanon to steal for our Greater Israel Project, which the patch, that we wear on our arm sleeves, the map that we carry to the Oval Office and everywhere else that we appear with high-ranking U.S. government officials, we roll it out. It's our stated objective. Greater Israel is what we're doing here, so we have to have Lebanon. We're going to take that. We're going to kill all of the Amalek in between. We're going to destroy and slaughter everybody.
Which they're Amalek.
Acknowledging that this peace deal includes Israel or Lebanon. So how can the peace deal be intact when the Israelis, as they love to call themselves, are bombing the hell out of Lebanon as we speak in violation of this peace deal before, during, and after the signing of this peace deal?
Well, it's all an operation. It's all a show. Even the Lebanese government, they're trying to genocide their own citizens right now, same as Israel is trying to do. This is like a second genocide happening right now in Lebanon. This is as sick as it gets. And hardly anyone's talking about it. Who's even talking about Palestine anymore? They just dropping bombs on 10 cities now. And you look at their flag, it's a 6-pointed star of Moloch. They are the synagogue of Satan. For all the people out there who have their Bibles, do you not read the Bible that you say you like or you believe in? Jesus told you all about it. He actually went, and the only time he got violent was against the money changers. Who are the money changers today? It's the Rothschilds, the central banking system. But everyone's out there still using their fiat currencies when they could be using Monero. It's incredible. So yeah, no, this peace deal, this is an operation. This is the Hegelian dialectic.
He's half correct, but the money changes.
That they always do. But this one's so big.
At that time, of course.
Now I've seen everyone they've done.
That had to do with the real Israelites. That's neither here nor there.
They've done it before. That's what the HIV/AIDS thing was. That was also a fake thing that they used to actually make it so people were scared to have sex to depopulate the earth. They always have an agenda with all these things, and then they killed them with the medicine.
And Dr. Fucky was in charge of that. The AIDS scare in the 80s.
With this war, a lot of people are like, oh, it's actually the U.S. versus Iran. Iran, go look at their parliament. It's got 33 windows. They're all controlled by the same people. Basically, if people can realize that, it all is very obvious what's actually going on. They are stealing as much money from people as possible, usually using taxes, and also spending as much money as possible, blowing everything up so that they can enrich themselves or their BlackRock-owned military-industrial complex, then steal more from people. They're also killing lots of people, which they love because they all work for the 6-pointed star of Moloch, which Israel uses as its actual flag, and people don't even notice that. They're just moving these things forward. This is what they've done. This is what World War II was. This is what World War I was. This is what Vietnam was. Do you think, why did the U.S. go to Vietnam, of all places? A beautiful place, beautiful women, beautiful food, just started bombing little kids, napalming them. It was because they believed in communism. The U.S. is almost communist at this point anyway. It's the most fascist communism out there, but the government is not.
He is rambling on, but he's right about all of it.
It's basically the same thing, and these people are just continuing on with this stuff.
Communism, by the way, is a Jewish creation.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Who were the Bolsheviks of the Soviet Union? Nobody really wants to talk about that. Who were the Bolsheviks, Jeff?
Well, geez, seems like a lot of them were all said they were Jewish. And also the same thing in Ukraine when they starved to death millions of white Christian males there. And they're doing it right now. They're doing it right now. They've been doing it for years in the Ukraine. Now there's hardly any Ukrainian men left. They're all dead. They actually drag off like old men to go die now. And this is like actual like murder, just taking them off the street, sending them somewhere and blowing them up. And who's moving in? Well, a lot of people with small hats are all moving in now. I don't know what's going on. Well, I know what's going on. People are under mind control. I don't know what to do. Like I try to say.
They're under mind control from the shots and from the pills and the SSRIs and the antidepressants and all of their childhood safe and effective vaccines and their COVID shots and they're triple boosted and they're double vaxxed. and they're wearing masks, and they're watching Fox News, and they're scared shitless of everything, and they believe what their television tells them.
Yep, and that's just it. Brainwashed zombie. It's zombie land out there, right? You know, and Amalek is behind it all, aka the small hats, as he just went into. So, you know, a lot of to go through, but nonetheless, so, you know, they don't like it, right? And Trump is already threatening Iran, you know, so this fiasco, even though the other articles would tell you, oh, you know, Israel doesn't like it, but now Trump's threatening Iran again. White House rejects Israeli request to review Iran MOU report. So, you know, yeah, supposedly they, you know, were rejected. That's just on the fiasco of things. We already know that it doesn't, hey, you know, people are still thinking peace and safety, peace and security, right? Israeli officials have called the new MOU a bad deal and are now threatening more attacks against the Islamic Republic. I can now confirm that Israel formally requested access to the Iran MOU and was denied, a remarkably and highly unusual development between close allies on an issue of such critical national security importance. According to Channel 12 correspondent, Tel Aviv submitted a formal request to D.C. to review the MOU, but was blocked and remains unaware of the full details of the framework. Israeli Prime Minister has wanted war. King Bibi confirmed publicly in a press conference a day earlier that was not sure about the details of the Iran-U.S. MOU. So, like everything else though, well, they were denied. They were denied to look at it. You know, this is in the fiasco of things, but hey, escalation, right? Israeli state defies deal. So, they hate the deal, right? Is this surprising? It's already happening.
Israel is defying the interim deal between the US and Iran that promised a ceasefire in Lebanon.
No surprise to us, the elect, right?
Been attacked by the IDF. Israeli drones hit multiple villages in southern Lebanon, reportedly killing
Lebanon's still being bombarded.
Social media footage showed a devastated neighborhood where a number of other people were also wounded.
Retaliatory response from Iran this week,
which is scheduled to be officially signed on Friday. Donald Trump has told West Jerusalem to put up with it, while stressing he's not happy about the ongoing assault on Lebanon.
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you.
Joining us live from Miami is investigative journalist and Truth in Media News outlet founder Ben Swan. Ben, good to see you. Many thanks for joining us on the program. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the timing of these new Israeli attacks on Lebanon. I mean, why wouldn't they be a good ally and pause the campaign until after the agreement's signed?
Because they hate the agreement. Thanks for having me on, by the way. They hate the agreement. They don't want this agreement. They were not consulted as part of this agreement, which I think is one of the most important points of this story, is that Trump has had to be very cautious about getting any information about this agreement, the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. He's not been clear with the American people about everything that's in it because he knows the attacks will come. They're already coming. You know, it's so interesting to watch that people on the right, who for the last couple of months have done nothing but applaud for Trump and say it's so wonderful, he's such a courageous, great leader, are now having an absolute panicking meltdown over the fact that this MOU has not been made public. We need to know what Iran is getting, and Israel shouldn't be bound by this, and Israel needs to continue to defend themselves. When you hear Trump say things like, by the way, you don't need to knock down an entire apartment building and kill all those people to get one person, when I hear that, I think, see, Trump is back. Somehow he got out of his cage, they let him loose, and he's back to being who we voted for in 2024, which is a candidate who says, enough of this nonsense, it's time to bring about peace, it's time to get back to some semblance of normalcy. So to hear Trump talking like that again, finally, or a lot of people, myself included, who thought, what happened to that guy when he was running for office and then he became president, and we've seen this very different version of Trump. Now he's starting to sound like the person that so many people voted for.
Yeah, coming back to this MOU, because recently some media figures that are often associated with the Israel lobby in the US demanded the White House release this Memorandum of Understanding with Iran, and that's amid reports that Trump didn't even share the details with Israel. So what's your perspective on that?
No, I think Trump has not shared the details with Israel because he does not trust Israel, nor has he shared it with the media because he does not trust the media. He does not trust the people on the right like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. He does not trust people like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, all of whom right now are lining up to begin attacking Trump. And it's interesting, you talk about the demands, because that's really what they are. These are demands to see the MOU. We've got to know exactly what's in it. We have to know exactly what Trump has agreed to. Really, well, why do you need to see this in advance? And I like what Trump said about it today. He said the reason he has not made that MOU public is because he wants to get to the signing first. What does that indicate? It indicates that Trump is saying, I'm not going to be dissuaded.
I'm not going to allow pressure from these groups to change the course of things. It's time for this war to be over, and it's going to be over. And he's not allowing anyone to interfere with that, which is extremely frustrating. But there's another very important point to the story, which is that some of the people within the administration, including Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War, John Ratcliffe, who's the head and the director of the CIA, were very against this decision, as well as Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. Reports are today that Trump is furious with some of those people, including Hegseth and Ratcliffe, and he may be
boy, are they giving you a strong delusion.
Going to end the war.
And so what are your thoughts when people like Ted Cruz chip in, insisting that Congress will have the final say on any memorandum with Iran? What do you make of that?
I find it hilarious that someone like Ted Cruz,
you gotta have a laugh, right?
A constitutional scholar, someone who served and actually clerked for the Supreme Court at one time, wants Congress to have to decide whether or not a war can end, which, by the way, is not constitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires an act of Congress or permission from Congress for a war to end. However, our Constitution does state that in order for a war to begin, Congress is the one who must declare war. Well, guess what Congress has done since this war with Iran started? One, most members of Congress, especially on the right, won't even call it a war because they know it's not constitutional. Number two, when people like Thomas Massie, the congressman from Kentucky, or Ro Khanna, have put forward measures to say, let's force a vote on the constitutionality of the war and on the War Powers Act of 1973, which requires after 60 days that a president get permission from Congress, the Republicans have refused to bring it to a vote, have refused to vote on it. They don't want to vote on it. So here's what's fascinating. So people like Ted Cruz will say, we don't need Congress to decide whether we start a war. Any president can do that on their own. But you need an act of Congress to end a war? Completely inversed, completely flipped on the actual constitutional question. And it's laughable.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, a peace deal approval by Congress is more important than approval of war. Why do you think that is, though?
Well, because the war is what they want, and it's what permanent Washington wants. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, the neocons and neoliberals who control those parties love war. And there's no war they won't vote for. There's no act of war that they don't seem to support in unison. Republicans and Democrats can agree on very many things, but one thing they can all seem to agree on is war. And so they're all in favor of the war. The idea that the war will come to an end...
Well, as Carlin says, they like war. They're warlike people.
Congress will weigh in and Congress will decide if the war ends. That is not true. The president will say when it's over. The president decides when those troops come home. The president will decide whether or not troops stay in the area. I floated a theory a long time ago. This is months ago. You can go back and check the tape. What I said was,
yeah, these people still think that Trump's going to do the right thing. Fucking hilarious.
Because of this war. He may use this war as a way of doing that. We are now actually seeing that in real time. The leaked transcripts of the MOU, if they are correct, indicate that the U.S. will pull all its service members out of that region of the world. If that happens, it is a substantial shift in geopolitics. And by the way, I don't see that as a loss for the United States. I think it's a good thing for the people of this country who are tired of endless war in the Middle East and tired of rebuilding other countries. We would like that attention and money and time and treasure to come back here to our nation and be spent on our people and not on ever-expanding war.
So there you have it. That could be hidden within the MOU. You know that this ain't going to stand anyways. Nonetheless, though, Israeli state publicly pledging to sabotage U.S.-Iran peace deal, you know, under the idea. And, hey, even Alex Jones is talking about the same thing. Israeli state plans to release select Epstein files in attempt to blackmail Republican leaders into continuing the war. You know, so using the blackmail as this guy goes into.
He's done an amazing job of pulling it together. He's not a Boy Scout. But he's done an amazing job of pulling it together.
That was just on Stu Peters as well.
He's very good with Hezbollah, does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed.
Big words.
And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody. Because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah.
Oh, Syria.
To be honest with you, I think they did a better job of doing it.
Oh, wait, ISIS is over here, too.
And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It wasn't like in the southern side, and you know, it was in Beirut. I did not like that.
Oh boy, you didn't like it.
I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that
boy, are you a liar?
Pull that country together amazingly quick.
If there's a real deal between the Americans and the Iranians, and it's going towards that, Netanyahu will try to sabotage it. One of the ways he'd sabotage it is by putting out Epstein material against U.S. government officials, including Trump. And he put it out there. new material that wasn't seen before in public.
So it's not just Trump. I know that Howard Lutnick is mentioned. There are other officials.
And not just Trump, other officials too. Yes. And he'll try to sabotage the whole negotiation and deal that would that they're trying to make together.
So there you have it, though. This was on Alex the other day.
Really upset about this deal the last few weeks, and have been bombing Iran, bombing Lebanon, intensifying attacks. They have said to derail this framework. Now, it doesn't mean the war is not going to flare back up. It doesn't mean that it's a done deal. But Trump really wants it shut down. He knows Israel lied to him about intelligence. He knows that it's destroying the economy. He knows that it's extremely unpopular and they're going to lose the midterms. And so he slammed the brakes on. And the media is spinning this, that, oh, Trump's a failure, he's an idiot, he got the same deal Obama got. And so the U.S. has been defeated. The real story is Israel struck first, put major pressure on Congress to support this with their foreign money, lied to Trump with fake intelligence that they fall in 4 days with domestic uprisings, when their own internal documents that have come out from the IDF said the opposite. They concurred with the Pentagon that it wasn't going to work, 92% chance. And that Israel is the author of this, the people running Israel. That doesn't mean Trump doesn't get blamed for being suckered. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be upset. But the fact that he's legitimately angry at Netanyahu, and I told you this months ago, last year, he puts on a nice face because he likes Israel itself and doesn't want Israel destroyed, wants Israel to be successful. I do too. I just want Israel to rise, be maniacal and try to take over the planet and threaten, Armageddon with the Samson option with nukes. I mean, I really don't like what Israel's doing and how they behave now.
Hey, here we go. Oh, yeah.
I don't like what communist China does.
Got to suck up to Amalek.
But it's just completely out of control. It's the communist Chinese I don't like. And so remember 3 weeks ago, it came out that Trump, of course, as I first predicted, leaked the Axios thing where he chewed out Netanyahu. Netanyahu later admitted it. And in that conversation, Trump said, and it got a little attention, you blow up whole apartment buildings to get one bad guy. Stop doing that. It's a war crime. Well, Trump has now said this on TV. POTUS tells G7 audience Israel military killing too many innocent civilians in Lebanon. You don't have to knock down an entire apartment house every time you're looking for somebody. So the good news is we're seeing real legitimate breaks from President Trump with the hardline lunatics running Israel.
But like everything else, though, they're still going to be drawn into the war. But, it's just made to look like, right? In this fiasco, right? Just kind of like Biden and Trump are really at opposite ends, but yet both pushed the vaccine. Both got a lot of people killed who took it, They both pushed forward. Trump and Biden were on the same team, even though it was made to look like they were in opposition. I mean, it's the same shit show over and over and over and over again. People fall for it because they're addicted to Fox News or CNN or PMSNBC, They just keep on going through the cesspool over and over again. That's the witchcraft of Esau, black magic, if you will. Why the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran failed. Tehran just showed why military supremacy no longer guarantees political victory. Yeah, it was a political disaster, and like everything else. So that's because the Most High is throwing a monkey wrench against Esau, Edom, right? The weak are saying that they are strong. And so, like everything else, though, he's about to reclaim the kingdom from all of these powers. But you see the shift in power happening, in that the elect are being built up, right? The house of David being built, And so, again, we're going to go through some trial. If you're not going through trial, make sure the Most High be with you, And, hey, it's better to go through trial and the Most High be with you than to not go through trial and just to be able to keep on sinning, doing whatever the fuck you want. No repercussions whatsoever, because guess what? That's how Esau lives. You know? You want to live like an Edomite, the Most High, he ain't going to chastise you, he ain't going to do nothing to you. Until he judges you. And you can't pray to him once he's made his judgments against you. You see, there's a big difference between chastisement. So I'd rather be chastised, go through some storms, but still be able to pray to the Most High through that. You know? And that's what the big difference between the elect and the two-thirds are, you know? The two-thirds, they don't care, they reject us, they make fun of us. That's okay, we're used to the humiliation anyways. Because guess what? We're laughing at them. Because, oh, you think you're so comfy, you think all this is going to last. There ain't no fucking peace deal. It's a joke. You know? We know that they're a joke. We know that Esau's a joke. We know that Esau is so fucking carnal and so ahead of himself that he thinks that he's never, ever going to have to answer for the things that he's done. He doesn't know that the Most High is going to destroy him once and for all. The war waged by the U.S. and Israeli state against Iran deserves a place in contemporary international relation textbooks, not because it overturns everything but we know about power, but because it shows how the use of power is changing. Classical approaches to relations between states still matter and the military superiority still counts, but the consequences of using force has become less predictable than before because coercion no longer produces linear outcomes. This applies not only to direct military intervention as in the case of Iran, but also to sanction and other forms of pressure. See, like everything else though, they were able to resist and just last. That's all they had to do was last, and they did. They confronted two nuclear capable countries, right? The United States and Israeli state. You know? But even at the same time, you know, others were involved, and they confronted every last fucking one of them. Responsible. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of them that launched military attacks against Iran. Iran confronted every U.S. base that was used. Iran-U.S. MOU includes $300 billion private fund for Tehran. Sources told Western media that more than half of the funds have already been committed by several international companies that will contribute to the reconstruction and rehabilitation in Iran. You know, so that's what's in there. You know, that, you know, this sanctioned money, you know, how Trump said that, oh, well, we're going to seize all the assets we've already frozen and we're going to give it to the allies. No, he's giving it back to them. You know, and this is money that they've been stealing for years, you know. So, yeah, that's why. A $300 billion private fund designed to trigger investment into Iran is outlined in the U.S.-Iran Framework Agreement, and more than half the sum has already been committed. An informed source told British outlet it will be comprised entirely of a private sector funds. The fund is designed to give both sides an economic incentive to conclude a final deal to end the war, because that's the only way that Iran was ever going to agree to anything is that no, we're looking for an end to the war. So, you know, this is why the Israeli state is not very happy. Reading the 14-point U.S.-Iran draft deal set for Friday's signing. With U.S. and Iranian officials preparing to formally sign a memorandum of understanding in Switzerland on Friday, conflict is entering the much-needed diplomatic phase to avert potentially disastrous energy cliff that the MOU would open a 60-day negotiating window aimed at ending the war. So, Bloomberg published the text of the 14-point draft MOU offering the clearest look at the proposed trade de-escalation and sanctions relief for Iran in exchange for a ceasefire across all fronts, commitments on shipping, access, and a broader nuclear deal to be finalized by the end of summer. So, it's quite a bit to read, but, you know. You know, these are the points here. The calm in Hormuz could be dangerously brief. Yeah, because like everything else, though, you know as well as I do that, you know, this thing ain't meant to actually go through. We'd be very surprised if it actually did go through. And even if it did go through, you know that the slightest aggression, it gets closed again, right? The latest U.S.-Iran deal announced on Sunday evening looks less like peace than a pause before the text. The news, which published oil prices down by 4%, appeared at first glance like a triumph of diplomacy. Yeah, that's what they want you to believe. You know, and Donald Trump, of course, you know, like his NASCAR rants, he says, immediately declare on social ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. But anyone looking beyond the market reaction can see the barrels of black gold still have to pass through a minefield. Yes, this is the most significant diplomatic breakthrough since the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran in February triggered a conflict that killed thousands and shook global energy markets. Yes, the strait, blocked by Iran for months, is expected to reopen on Friday, but the agreement is not a final peace deal. So, they can just close it at any time. And it's happened quite a few times in this. How the Gulf stepped in to clean up America's mess, you know, so like everything else, so all these other countries had to step in to clean up the mess, you know, of what Trump and King Bibi started. As Trump waged war, he could not end. Gulf states closed ranks, revived diplomacy with Tehran, and prevented a wider regional crisis. So this is on the show of things, but you know as well as I do that this gets broken, and a broader war comes because, hey, they're not done yet. Oh no, they plan to go after Gomer. They plan to continue to take more territories. American bases scattered across the Gulf did not shield states from a conflict they never chose. They made it a target. Iran could not easily reach Tel Aviv or D.C., so it struck the softer rises within range, and the Gulf absorbed the blows. Yeah, those places didn't stand a chance. Trump proved he could start a war, but he could not end one. His impatience, his appetite for flattery, and his constant swing between the Israeli lobby and the Gulf lobby left him incapable of the patient bargaining a settlement demanded. Yeah, you can't just tariff them and all that. Remember that shit? Because guess what? He still does that. By the way, nobody really wants to fucking deal with him. For nearly 3 years, it was the Israeli state that broke the regional peace, and the Gulf that paid to repair it. This time, it was America that did the breaking, and once again, the bill landed in Riyadh, Doha, and Abu Dhabi. As during the Arab Spring, the Gulf had to step in and take responsibility for its own region as America was found waiting once again. So like everything else though, you see, they know that the biggest bully out there is the U.S. They hammer the whole earth. Iran warns of harsh response as Israeli state violates a ceasefire 84 times in Lebanon. You know, so they're about to step in anyways. And this is published as of Tuesday. In a statement on Tuesday, headquarters said the terrorist army of the Zionist regime has violated the ceasefire 84 times over the past 2 days. In just 2 days, despite the U.S. President's announcement declaring an end to the war. It noted that the occupation regime has been continuing crimes in the killing of the oppressed people in Lebanon even after the ceasefire was meant to take effect. If the child-killing army of the Zionist regime does not end its evil acts in southern Lebanon, it will await a harsh response from the powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, it said. Iranian warning came following the announcement of a memorandum of understanding between Tehran and D.C. aimed at ending a war that was imposed on Iran recently. So, expect a retaliatory response very soon. Because the Israeli state is still continuing to do that. I'd be surprised if they actually stop. Israelis' forced displacement in Lebanon amounts to war crime. This is coming from Amnesty. Amnesty says Israeli forced displacement of civilians in southern Lebanon and prevention of their return amounts to war crime. Oh, you think? But it seems that Iran's the only one doing anything about it. That's actually speaking up for them, now that they've been attacked too. Israelis' mass evacuation orders and restrictions on civilians returning to their homes in southern Lebanon amount to unlawful transfer, a war crime under international humanitarian law, according to a new investigation by Amnesty International. Rights group found that the Israeli military has dramatically expanded its use of mass evacuation and no-return orders since 2024. And like everything else, though, they haven't even honored that ceasefire anyways. Displacing hundreds of thousands of people across Lebanon, preventing tens of thousands from returning to their homes in the south. See, like everything else, though, that ceasefire was supposed to be in 2024. And it's still yet to this day, all the way to 2026, still nothing done. But now Iran is stepping in. The weak are saying that they are strong. And, well, as we get into this, is more about the internet ID. Yeah, there's a famine of the word that's coming. And it's right around the corner. So, as the brother put it, though, that we're going to be enduring some really hard times. You know, Jacob's trouble is right around the corner. But we hold that fast. And we continue to do the work of Yahawashi. We're going to be safe from the said perils. And like everything else, though, you know, right now it's pretty easy. You can click on a video and find it. You can find someone teaching at all times. Or you can turn this on and you can do a video and edify others too. But there's coming a time when that's not going to be there. You know, so as Apostle Ramlab and others have stated, get this while you still can, while we're still out there teaching, while we still have the available to teach, because it's coming. Amos chapter 8, verse 9, it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahawah, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day. What does that mean? That means that everything's going to be, well, it goes into further, right? Everything's going to become very, as you would say, pessimistic, meaning that, okay, you'll be going through some lamentation, right? I will turn your feast into mourning and all your songs into lamentation, man. You're going to be lamenting for a lot of things. And I will bring up sackcloth upon all loins and baldness upon every head. And I will make it as the morning of an only son, and the end thereof is a bitter day. You see, and the very name America means bitter. This is a very bitter place. So bitterness is coming, you know. And what do you have to say about living here in so-called America, right? If you've lived deliciously, or you see others are living deliciously, but it's been pretty bitter to you, right? You know, it's like, man, I ain't enjoying it. What fucking American dream are you talking about? Are you fucking kidding me? You know? You might say back, right? But yet they act like it, right? They act like everything's going great, you know? And they're used to the bullshit. They like the bullshit right where it lies, which is why they turn on the news, and they keep on voting every 4 years thinking that the next guy is going to do something better. But that's all coming to naught, right? You know, bitterness is coming everywhere, and everyone's going to be feeling it, right? You know, not just us on the one end, but everyone's going to be feeling it. Bitter days are coming, you know. But, like everything else, though, we're going to have to endure to the end. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahawah, that I will send a famine in the land. Not a famine of bread, nor thirst of water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahawah Ba'Hashem Yahawashi. Yeah, because, hey, we can't do it anymore. Okay? We're totally blocked. We're blocked worldwide. I mean, have you ever had that happen on your YouTube video? Video blocked worldwide. Okay, you don't get a strike, but it's just blocked worldwide. Nobody's going to see it. And it can happen right in the middle of your broadcast, man. We've already seen some of this, but it's going to come to a point that you ain't going to be able to get anything up there. You also notice, though, that to even upload a video on there, it is recommended that you go through the guidelines before you even post your video, right? To just go through that extra 10 minutes or so, you know, as it filters through to see if there's anything that violates that, etc. You know? So, and for a while, a lot of us, including myself especially, was not able to even get on YouTube for a while, man. You know, because the videos just wouldn't come on before they changed the algorithm. Because of the so-called misinformation, you know? Yeah. They shall wander from sea to sea. From the north even to the east, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord Yahawah Ba'Hashem Yahawashi, and shall not find it. You think when we can't upload videos to the World Wide Web that we're honestly going to go out there? You know? When all hell's breaking loose on the streets and all that? No. We're going to be given safe haven, but a lot of people are going to be left in the dust, because guess what? They're like, man, I should have listened. Where are those guys? Where are those guys? You know, where are they at? Man, they used to teach here every day. I remember seeing them, but guess what? They're not there anymore. We're coming into that time. And that day shall the fair virgins, young men faint for thirst. You know? So, they're going to try to seek the word of Yahawah Ba'Hashem Yahawashi, and shall not find it. They're going to, you know, because When the internet's gone, where do you think they're going to go to? They're going to go to the streets to try to see if we're still teaching out there. If we're still on that street anymore, if we're teaching, you know, they're going to go looking for us, and we ain't even going to be out there anymore. You see? That's what's coming. That day is coming very soon. So hopefully this has been edifying. Got one more here before I close this out, because of course that's based upon this video. The Trojan Horse Internet ID Exposed, coming to your home from the UK to the US and Canada. Yeah. So what happens in Mother Babylon's coming soon to Daughter Babylon. So get into this a little bit and close this out. Shalom, Barak the Yahawah, Ba Hashem, Yahawashi, Ba Hashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatam, Jehovah elect. Shalom.
Hey everybody, Josh Sturgeon, World Alternative Media here, and we're going to jump into a little bit of a rabbit hole here today as we talk about the push for internet IDs across the board. Something we've been talking about for quite some time, but now is being enforced in the UK as Starmer is set to ban under 16s from major social media platforms, social medias, which, by the way, do horrible harm to us, no doubt, but they created the system in the first place, and now they're coming in to bring it down. We're going to hear what Keir Starmer says, but this isn't just about what's happening in the UK. It's happening simultaneously everywhere, including in very conservative, quote-unquote, states. It's happening all over the world. We're going to look at the origin of that. We're going to also look into other countries that are doing this, Canada, throughout the EU. The list goes on and on and on and on. And what is exactly the reason for this, and why is every country simultaneously doing this in 2026 into 2027? We are going to break this down more because, of course, this is all part of the digital ID system. This is all a big Trojan horse, and it ends with you ending up being tracked and traced. It leads to the reset that we have been warning of.
The MOTV to come.
Before we get into this, I urge people to check those links below for real-world solutions. If you look at use code WAM, W-A-M, get interviews and everything reports. It helps us stay alive, so we truly appreciate you helping people credit, which they are doing today. Ironically, through the same systems that they're using to ban social media for kids. No one wants kids mentally unwell from social media, and no one wants kids watching pornography, which is where a lot of these age verifications come in as well. But it's a Trojan horse. Parents, that's your job. Figure that out. It's not the government's, mommy and daddy government's job to deal with this. To then come in as a Trojan horse and have everyone show their identification to be tracked and traced all the time. Yes, there are ways around this through Tor and all these other things, but not so much through social media, and this is just a step, and I'll mention it later because we have evidence of them just using this age verification through bills into 2027 that include shutting you down from using your computer itself without this age verification. It's a Trojan horse, if I've ever seen one. It's blatantly obvious. It's easy to pull on our heartstrings, but we see through it. We know where the technocracy is coming from. Let's get into this. So, as this is happening in the UK, and a lot of people are talking about it, let's hear what Keir Starmer has to say.
Every parent wants the best for their kids. And that's what being a parent means.
That's what being a parent means. The way, the condescending arrogance of this absolute tool. Look at that face. Ugh. Man, anyway, continue.
And for me, for my two kids, all I've ever wanted, Hand on Heart, is for them to be safe and for them to be...
Notice how safe comes first now. It's always about safety, safety, safety. We're doing this. We created all these problems. It caused all these problems. We demoralized you. We put you into this area where you are in danger, and now we're going to come to your safety. Everything's about safety. Be in fear otherwise, because if it isn't for mommy and daddy government, you aren't safe. That's what they're trying to get across to people. They don't believe you're the parents of your kids. They believe they are the parents of your kids.
And the rest is up to them. But you know, I think back to when I was growing up, and I have to say, I think we had it easier. These days, kids have to find their feet in a world that changes so quickly, where technology intrudes into every area of their lives.
Yeah, you're the one putting that technology intruding into every part of their lives. You're literally doing it with this proposal. It's insane. This hypocrisy is insane.
And we know that harms them. The response from parents in the consultation has been absolutely clear. Thousands of parents say their children are addicted to social media. It can leave them trapped in a cycle of endless scrolling that displaces play, sleep, and time with the family.
You have most of the time away from the family with the government school system as it is. I mean, children are more raised by their teachers these days. They work for the government than their own family. But on top of that, yeah, taking away all this time where they could be, you know, enjoying their life and everything. You guys created this system as a Trojan horse in the first place. And now there's a new Trojan horse utilizing pulling on the heartstrings of people over the social media issue in the first place. I mean, it's just so hypocritical.
It can harm their mental health.
Of course it can.
Frankly, parents need our support on it. That is why today, the government has decided to ban social media access for children under 16. It's a big step for our country. Now, it's not an easy thing to do.
Now, it's not an easy thing to do. It's the exact same thing we heard during COVID. It's just the way he talks.
Yeah,
the way
2 weeks to flatten the curve. You heard that.
You are the children he is talking about, which in the end he really is. I mean, for the establishment, obviously he's reading a script, but I mean, he is talking to you like you are a small child and he's mommy and daddy government. It's the exact same conduct, the same conversational thing that we saw in all these campaigns during the COVID scam.
Yep, the scamdemic, yep.
We haven't rushed into it. We've looked carefully at the evidence. And we'll have to adapt to our approach as technology changes. Learn from other countries which are taking similar steps.
Yeah, almost all of them. Weird.
And it's fair to say that this decision has been resisted, and it will face resistance from some of the most powerful companies in the world.
Oh, powerful companies. See, they always do this. They say the same thing with the data centers, with Kevin O'Leary doing 62 square miles of a data center. And when people criticize it, he goes, oh, well, that's AI in China that are pushing games. And in this case, oh, it's a big corporations. These guys are literally working with these giant corporations to integrate this digital system. He's such a liar. He's such a scam artist. Absolute piece of trash. Oh, anyone that criticizes this is going to be the big corporation. So now we're going to have people rallying against us outside in the streets and in places like London. And then in response, a bunch of mouth-breathing morons that believe everything the government tells them are going to say, oh, you just work for big corporations. What corporations do you work for? Because people just do it. They repeat after me. It's Simon Says with government.
But we will take them on, and we will win.
When he says we will take them on and we will win, he's talking to you. We'll take you on and we will win. We will get our way. You will join the new digital ID system. You will join the Great Reset. That's what he's saying. Look at his face. He is threatening you right now, and it could be more blatant.
Because the need for action could not be any clearer. Social media is making our children unhappy and unsafe.
All about safety.
And as a parent, as much as a Prime Minister, I just can't let that go on anymore.
Can't let it go on anymore.
Because our children deserve better. They deserve a happy, safe childhood in a stronger, fairer Britain.
What does fairer mean? Can anyone please tell me what does fairer mean in this context at all? Like they always say fair, equitable, all this kind. What does fair mean, my friends? What does fair mean? A more fairer future. A fairer for our kids. Fairer. What's fair? What's fair about any of this? They're coercing everyone into a digital ID system, which again came under the guise of stopping mass migration, which they also created in the first place by giving welfare to a bunch of people from other countries that they bombed. But alas, here we go, and no, now they're doing that with bank accounts and citizenships on bank accounts and 5 years of social media history to enter the United States, by the way. So they're enforcing it while going against it. Enforcing social media while going against it. It's social credit. It's pretty obvious. We always warned that social media was a precursor to social credit, and then it causes mental stress, which no doubt it does. But then what do? They censor it, they control it, they control the algorithm. The new algorithm will be the hive mind, and then they say you can't use it if you're under a certain age, and therefore we'll do enough indoctrination in school. We'll make sure everyone else is on the social media, though, and then we'll utilize that in order to bring in age verification, which means IDs, digital IDs, to use the internet. Brilliant. Effing brilliant. And by the way, this is happening in very conservative states, by the way, including Texas. Ken Paxton, who I've been warning about for years, Attorney General Ken Paxton, secures major victory protecting children online by requiring age verification and parental approval for minors' app downloads. So we have Ken Paxton, Senate Bill 2420 was passed by the legislature last spring, signed into law by Governor Abbott on May 27th of 2025. Now this has been going on for a while, but one of the ones we've been talking about a lot since it came out was Missouri, where they have been pushing this for quite some time. Missouri enforces mandatory age verification, and they pushed back on this. This was originally at the end of 2025, but then they pushed back on it, and then new papers were drafted, and they pushed that forward, and it looks like it's going through very easily. And now we can go back a couple years now to Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, who enforces Florida to require age verification for social media, adult websites, and apps. Oh, stop the children from watching pornography. Great, except for we're talking about a bunch of child trafficking pedophiles who are blackmailed, who kill children overseas, claiming that they care about children so much that they're doing this. They don't care about children. There's always ulterior motives. But again, Ron DeSantis was pushing this a while back ago, and I called it out back in March of 2024, and it was enforced January 2025. But who came up with this in the first place? Who came up with the age verification on the internet in the first place? Obama moves forward with Internet ID plan. This is from April 15th, 2011. I remember when this came out. I had to do a little bit of digging to find this, but a series of public meetings on so-called trusted identities proposed for cybersecurity ID is planned, followed by pilot projects next year. Obama was the guy who pushed this forward. The Obama administration was one of the main culprits behind this digital ID enforcement online, which, by the way, was as well. But Obama was, and Obama was followed by conservative Ron DeSantis in Florida, followed by Missouri, followed by conservative Ken Paxton in Texas. Now, leftists in the UK are getting called out for it while it's happening in your backyard as well. They're both sides of the paradigm, the political paradigm, are pushing this agenda. Let's bounce to Canada. Canada is the latest to try limiting kids' social media exposure. Oh, Canada, that's unfortunately where I am right now, but the new bill gives platforms room to change. AI chatbots must also follow safety criteria, but not age-restricted now. That's where the Palantir kind of technology comes in, that they're using in war right now to indiscriminately kill children in Palestine or decide who can or cannot eat in the food ration lines in Palestine, which, as I've mentioned, is being tested to be used on you. Canada is aiming to join other countries in restricting social media for children, but some experts say it's the other things in Canada's online harms bill, namely safety requirements for social platforms and establishing a new regulator that could set it apart. On Wednesday, Identity and Culture Minister Mark Miller introduced the two-part Safety Social Media Act Bill C-34, the federal government's latest attempts to create a law to address dangers Canadians, especially
children, you already know what that's going to do, right?
It also wraps in artificial intelligence in the form of chatbots.
So there you have it, though, you know. And like everything else, though, you know. Just not being caught unaware. Shalom.